So we saw Robocop yesterday, and we're re-recording because somebody didn't do the focus right.
Messed up the focus.
And we want to be a damn good professional show for you people.
That's right.
It's really your fault. Blame yourselves for why we're redoing this.
I was so focused on you guys.
Bastards. No, we're kidding. We love you guys.
The customer is always right.
What's up, Miles Parkinson? Oh, gave you your shout out just now.
Hello, I'm Ryan Wright.
And I'm Jerry.
Welcome to Reasons to See, citizen.
Where we're gonna give you some reasons to see
Or maybe not to see.
the Robot Cop.
So let's hang out, citizen. Reason to see number 1. The writing and directing.
Yeah, so no, I fucking loved the hell out of this film. I wasn't expecting to. It just looked like an okay sci-fi action film when I saw it, but it's way more than that. Way more. There's like a total story to this film, man. The writing is fantastic. First thing I noticed was like even the dialogue sounds great. Everyone has their own type of way of speaking. Yeah, it's just like the characters are so well defined without being so cliche and expositional about it. I love the writing. Jerry, I think it's about time you talk, because I'm kind of just taking over everything right now, because I'm being selfish.
Oh no, it's alright. I mean, I enjoyed this movie a lot more than I thought I would. I mean, part of what I like so much about it is that it's a remake that they arguably didn't have to put much effort into, and yet they really do, and they bother to not make it just a retread of the first movie. Like, it's updated in a lot of clever ways relevant to now, as if they said, how would this movie exist if it was new today?
Yeah, it's a great modern day update, and at the same time, it's different than the original. Like, the Rotten Tomatoes consensus says like it doesn't offer significant improvement over the original, but I'm like, I would agree with that if they were trying to redo the original. Like, this has a different type of plot to it. It feels more like the Alex Murphy story.
Well, yeah, it's like they figured, like, how can we make a good Robocop movie instead of how do we make Robocop again?
Reason to see number 2. Joel Kinnaman.
Like, sorry. No, please.
No, you had a thought.
Yeah, Joel Kinnaman in this film. He's awesome as Robocop, and more beyond Robocop, he's more awesome as Alex Murphy. That's the cool thing, is that they really get you to care about Alex Murphy. Like, when you see the trailers, the reason why the film looks so empty was because it looked like, oh, it's about a guy who becomes a robot, and he's a badass cop. It didn't look like it offered much story, but like when you watch it, it deals with like the emotional turmoil he has to go through with trying to adjust to something so extreme.
You get to see the full effects of the aftermath of his accident.
In this moment, like, Joel Kinnaman starts to like cry. You really feel his pain, and it's cool to see an actor go to such an extreme level with his emotions in an imaginary sense, and to be able to believe that, I find that really impressive. I think people take that for granted when you're dealing with something so fictitious, because when an actor can make something fictitious and believe it to that degree where it's like totally not real, that is when it's like really cool.
Not fictitious, but like when it's this kind of movie and when it's, you know, like a sci-fi action fantasy, like you're not expecting people to get as into the more character bits. And going back to the script, that's what I think is really cool about their approach to this one, because they didn't just go, oh, let's just action. People want action. Like, this movie has a bunch of moments where in other action movies I would probably be sitting there going, I wish they'd let that moment play out. And this movie does do that.
Yeah, I thought they improved on the Alex Murphy character by far, because when you think about Robocop, you think about Robocop, but in this film you think about Robocop, but you think about Alex Murphy as the Robocop.
Well, yeah, and the thing about like a remake is like everybody has a different idea of what they want. A lot of people are complaining like, oh, you know, it's more about like the human struggle versus becoming a robot and stuff, and it's not like the original. And I'm like, well, isn't that the point? Shouldn't it be its own thing and not like the original? And for that reason, I really respect their choices.
Yeah, it feels like a film that was inspired by an old film, and you know, but they keep like the same names of people and stuff.
Yeah, and they update a lot of the themes, because there's a lot of stuff about, you know, like ethics in terms of in business, and, you know, human ethics and advertising, and, you know, the ethics of warfare and police work and all that stuff. And then there's also the man versus machine. Like, they give you much more to think about than I was ever expecting a Robocop remake to give you to think about.
And one thing I thought that totally made the film feel more personal was you really see Alex Murphy as a family man in this film, and like the struggles his family is going through while he's going through this process. It's very effective stuff. It's a lot more psychological than ever, and it's very emotional, and yeah, it's great shit. I mean, the whole cast is great.
Reason to see number 3. Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman is fucking awesome in this film. He
Yeah.
plays like the doctor who pretty much creates Robocop, and he's fantastic in this role. Like, he's barely advertised in it, but he's such a main character. And boy, Gary Oldman has that incredible ability.
So good.
Yeah, he has this incredible ability to just become someone else instantly. Like, just from watching a fucking facial expression while he's sitting, you're like, I get the guy completely. I can feel him. And it's like Gary Oldman's not acting. He just seems like he's being natural as this guy. It's incredible, dude.
Well, that's a credit to the entire cast of this film, because everyone really feels like, some people you can tell they have fun with their roles or whatever, but everyone brings their A game, everyone's committed. Whenever the more plot type elements of the script, whenever those get a little muddy, the cast always elevates those things.
Yeah, if you think about the writing and the performance of Gary Oldman, like, you see these struggles of having to sacrifice his own, like, morality in order to make advances. You really feel it, and it's done in such a way where it's not like shoved in your face. Like, it makes sense why this guy is dealing with these struggles, and it adds effect to the film. And Gary Oldman's performance on it, like, the way he interacts with, like, Alex Murphy it's so compassionate. Even when he's like yelling and stuff, you feel that sense of care behind his yells,
Yeah.
Reason to see number 4. Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton is fantastic.
Michael Keaton. I'm so glad he's back. He's getting more work now, and he seems to be having a lot of fun with these kind of roles,
I heard he might be Beetlejuice again.
He said he's emailing back and forth with Tim Burton.
Oh, what email account? Like, what is, like, Gmail, Yahoo?
Yeah, I'm sure he released
Tim Burton at yahoo.com. No one will ever figure this one out.
hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
But he's great. Like, you can really tell he's committed, but he's still having a lot of fun with it. He's a blast to watch.
It's crazy, because he's like a blast to watch, yet he's not necessarily chewing up the screen.
He's not cartoony or
Yeah.
in a different movie. Like, it's just right.
What I'm really impressed by that performance is that one could have been a very two-dimensional performance. But this guy brings depth to this character who feels human. Like,
He brings a lot of personality.
you can feel a good and bad side to him.
He's a master. He's a master manipulator and a master of marketing and selling things. So
And he's great at it because he gets you to buy into him very early on. It's not like watching Bill Nye, where, it's just, this guy's obviously a bad guy.
well, that and also we're kind of used to Bill Nye doing that thing.
Reason to see number 5. Samuel L. Jackson.
Sam Jackson, man.
Sam Jackson.
Oh man, what I loved about this film was the prologue. It's like the setup of the film, but not necessarily. It's more introducing you to the world. It's really clever the way it's done, and they introduce it through Sam Jackson's news report show, the CNN of that day.
And it really makes me wish he had one for real. Because I would watch Sam Jackson.
Yeah,
bring the news.
Like, Sam Jackson does what Sam Jackson does best. He comes in, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna film something, I'm gonna get my paycheck. But he does a good job when he does that. He treats it like a job. But he gets it done, though.
Well, yeah, it's like you didn't have to have Samuel L. Jackson do this role, but I'm really glad they did.
But it
because
does add.
He sure shows up and brings his A game regardless.
Yeah, it's not like watching Bruce Willis in a lot of things. It adds flavor to the film big time. It adds humor to it too. It was great to watch. He had some really funny moments.
Reason to see number 6. Jackie Earle Haley.
And Jackie Earle Haley, he fucking rocks it too, man. Like, the guy's a natural. He's like Gary Oldman in that way, where they transform, but they seem so natural at it. Because when some actors transform, you could really tell they're doing something different. With Gary Oldman and Jackie Earle Haley, you don't really notice that when they do performances,
Well, because it's not always big. Transformations can be, they don't have to be huge and like crazy makeup or whatever.
Yeah. It was like how Johnny Depp used to be. Because when Johnny Depp was first Jack Sparrow, that was amazing. And then after a while, they're like, okay, Johnny Depp.
Yeah, these guys, they make subtle changes, but sometimes the most subtle changes are the best.
He's that guy, he don't like Robocop.
He's that guy who's like, you're coming in on my turf, like, whatever, Tin Man. Like,
yeah,
he's that
he
dude.
said Tin Man.
He's great. He's very natural.
He's good to watch, and he makes the guy a little funny, but you still believe him, like, as this guy who could actually pull off, like, action and stuff.
Reason to see number 7. Action and Designs.
Oh, the action. The action is fantastic. And that's not the first thing you fucking think about with this film. Not in a discrediting way to the action. The action scenes make sense when they come in. They don't feel like they threw in an action scene. It like makes sense at this moment for the plot to actually go there.
Clearly their first goal with this remake was not to just make it a shoot 'em up action movie, which I gotta give them credit for. You know, there's not a ton of action.
It's like 3 or 4 scenes, yeah.
Yeah, but when it is there, you know, it's merited and it's pretty rad.
And they're all different types of action scenes. You got one scene where he's taking on like a shit ton of robots, and then you got another scene where he's breaking in something. He breaks into 2 places, but they're different kinds of action scenes.
Yeah.
And that first time when he broke in and just started shooting up with those humans, that was like pretty violent. Because some people are complaining about like this isn't rated R, you know, but
really not an issue.
It's not necessary for this RoboCop take. And you know, in the first RoboCop, it really is like RoboCop versus the bad guys. And this film, it's not so much about a particular villain. Like they got several bad guys, but they're not even really the bad guys of the movie, except for one dude. There's not a lot of focus on them, and there doesn't need to be. This is really RoboCop's origin story. Like, why would you get so against a remake that is good over the fact of a rating, you know?
Well, because, you know, that's all stuff people look at before they go in.
Yeah.
And also a remake is already at a disadvantage simply because it's a remake.
And the designs of everything were fantastic too. Like, I like the RoboCop new suit.
Well, and they acclimate you to it very well because they start you out with the silver suit, and then the way they transition and what they decide to do with the various approaches to the suit actually work really well.
And it helps separate the 2 movies big time.
Yeah. Well, and also I found it kind of cool that when they use the black suit, it actually kind of symbolically makes sense to the story.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, because, you know,
it's getting a little darker.
Devoidness of color, you know.
I didn't
it's like
even
the absence
think
of
about
light,
that.
you know, and it's getting darker for him, blah, blah, blah. Jay Baruchel.
Jay Baruchel. That should be the first reason to see this movie.
Yeah. We're gonna build a RoboCop. I don't know if that's a good impression or not.
No, that sounds like Paul Giamatti or Adam Sandler's impressions of everything.
Oh, we're gonna build a RoboCop. You're alive, you're coming with me.
I'm fart joke. Fucking Adam Sandler. I still like his movies.
Reason to see number 8. The soundtrack.
The soundtrack.
Pretty sweet.
Good soundtrack, man. Good soundtrack. I don't know how to go into detail with it because it's a soundtrack, but its use of instruments was awesome.
Well, and it's always cool to hear the theme song.
Oh, and the scene theme song was really cool too. They had a little mix, kind of. Ryan's consensus. Jerry, I'm gonna say it.
Oh shit.
RoboCop is the reason movies are made. RoboCop is the reason movies are made. I like it because like it's entertaining in a different way. Like it's a serious film. It's a drama for sure. A sci-fi drama, but at the same time it's like still really entertaining throughout. It moves you emotionally, and I think that's a great time in a science fiction world.
Jerry's consensus. A genuine, well-thought-out remake is the reason to see RoboCop. A genuine, well-thought-out remake is the reason to see RoboCop. Like I said, it updates itself in a lot of, you know, interesting and clever ways, and it, you know, respect to the original while also being its own thing. And I really appreciated them for that, because they didn't have to try, and they did.
Alright guys, thanks for checking out a review for RoboCop. Why don't you go ahead, scroll to that comment box below, and tell us which no, fuck that. What did you like more about this RoboCop film?
And once you're done with that, why don't you come over here, click this button, so you can see more episodes of Reasons to See.
And last, but not fucking least, if you want to get updated every time one of our awesome bitchin' possum videos are out, subscribe. Here's where we usually, have a little discussion. We talk. Maybe make you laugh a little bit. Have you guys seen the Lego movie? Shit, dude, that movie was fucking insanely good.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I want to watch it again. I want to go, like, stoned. No, I couldn't keep up with that.
Your head will explode.
Yeah, I couldn't keep up with that. That'd be insane.